What if aging isn't the beginning of the end, but the beginning of something you were too busy to notice? What if your body feels weaker, not because it's failing, but because it's finally asking to be heard? Here's a truth no one tells you after 60. Slowing down isn't a problem, it's a signal. A signal that for the first time in your life, your body is no longer begging you to do more, but to listen more. Are we just decaying with age? Or are we evolving into something softer, deeper, and wiser? In this video, I want to show you 5 gentle habits, simple but deeply transformative, that don't just support your health, but awaken something powerful within. Practices drawn from Buddhist wisdom, modern neurobiology, and the quiet intelligence of your body. Because you don't need another pill. You need a pause. You don't need to fight aging. You need to understand it. Have you felt lately that your body is asking for something medicine can't give? Tell me in the comments below. Let's begin, not with effort, but with awareness. The first habit may surprise you in its simplicity, but its effects go deeper than most people ever realize. Habit 1. Breathe like your life depends on it, because it does. You've taken over 600 million breaths in your life. But tell me, how many have you met? We breathe all day, every day, but rarely with awareness. And that absence, though silent, is not harmless. It might be one of the quietest reasons we feel drained, disconnected, and prematurely old. In Buddhist tradition, there is a meditation called anapanasati, the practice of simply watching the breath, not controlling it, not fixing it, just returning to it. Why? Because breathing is the first thing we lose when we leave the present moment. In Zen, we say that the breath is not air. It is spirit in motion. It is the thread that stitches your mind back into your body. And if the mind has wandered for decades, breath is the path home. Breathing with awareness is not just a wellness trend. It is a memory, a remembering of who we were before the tension, before the pills, before the panic. Here's what's fascinating. When you breathe deeply, specifically longer exhales, you stimulate the vagus nerve. That's the nerve that whispers to your body, "We are safe now." It slows your heart rate, it softens your blood pressure, it helps your digestion, it even regulates your hormones. And yet none of this happens when you breathe shallowly, like most people unconsciously do for years. Now pause and ask yourself, have you ever felt anxious without knowing why, and only later realized you hadn't taken a full breath in hours? You weren't broken, you were just disconnected. Chronic stress traps us in short, tight upper chest breaths. It mimics the body's emergency mode, even when there's no danger. This keeps us in a loop. More shallow breath, more tension, more aging, more emotional fog. But the opposite is also true. One slow breath can interrupt the loop. It's like this. Fear breathes fast. Peace breathes slowly. And the rhythm you choose moment to moment becomes the life you live. Here's something beautiful most people miss. Your breath affects your field. Every breath creates a vibration. When you breathe with intention, that vibration becomes coherent, like tuning an instrument. People around you feel it. Conversations soften. Conflict loses its teeth. Even your cells listen differently. A calm breath doesn't just change your day, it attracts a different day. One of my students, a retired woman in her late 60s, used to wake up with a racing heart. She thought it was aging or early heart issues. But I asked her to do one simple thing. Trade her first coffee for 10 minutes of quiet tea and conscious breathing. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. She did it for 30 days. No medications, no new supplements. At her next checkup, Her blood pressure had dropped 15 points. But more importantly, she said, "For the first time in years, I'm not afraid of the morning. That's not magic, that's presence." You know, they say youth is wasted on the young, but I think proper breathing is too. When we were younger, we had all the energy, but none of the awareness. Now that we have the awareness, we just need to reclaim the energy. And breath is the door. I've sat with monks who lived decades in silence. And I've also sat beside ICU beds in the final days of people's lives. You know what both moments had in common? They were all about the breath. You see, every birth begins with an inhale. Every death ends with an exhale. So somewhere in between, maybe it's time we stop ignoring the middle. Try this today. Take 2 minutes, just 2. Inhale for 4 seconds. Exhale for 6. Do it before your morning news, before your medications, before your phone. Let it be your way of saying, "I'm here." You don't need a perfect life to feel peace. You just need a peaceful breath to begin again. And once the breath slows down, something miraculous happens. You begin to hear again, not just your body, but your life. And that brings us to the next habit, a small, simple ritual that rewires not only your biology, but your sense of purpose. Habit 2, walk like you're praying. Have you ever walked not to go somewhere, but to come back to yourself? What if your morning walk could be the most silent, sacred conversation you'll ever have? Years ago, during a long retreat in northern Thailand, one of the forest monks noticed something in me. He said gently, "You sit in stillness, but you walk like you're chasing something." That struck me because it was true, not just in the way I moved, but in the way I lived. Even after years of meditation, I still carried urgency in my body, as if peace only belonged to the cushion, not the path between. So he taught me the ancient Zen practice of Kin-Hin, walking meditation. One step, one breath. Heel touches earth, then toes. Mind is fully here. And over time, the miracle happened. My mind began to arrive before my body did. The philosophy of sacred movement. In Zen, they say, when you walk, just walk. No distractions, no destination, no agenda. It's not about walking slower, it's about walking with soul. Each step becomes an offering, each pause, a prayer. You're not escaping aging, you're walking into the deepest wisdom it carries. Let's bring in what modern science quietly affirms. When we walk mindfully, our brain lights up differently, especially in areas connected to memory and coordination. Neuroplasticity increases. The vagus nerve is soothed. Blood pressure stabilizes. Walking slowly and consciously has been shown to protect cognitive function more effectively than some medications. And unlike pills, it has no side effects except presence. Psychology. Why slowness heals the emotions. Fast movement often buries emotion, but slow walking, especially in nature, gives our feelings room to surface. You might suddenly feel sadness or relief, not because you're getting emotional, but because you're finally giving your emotions space to move. Think of it this way. Still water reflects, but walking water releases. Walking is not just physical, it's vibrational. When you walk with gentleness, you generate a field of gentleness. When you walk with gratitude, you attract more moments to be grateful for. The law of attraction isn't just about what you think, it's about what your entire body radiates. And your pace is a powerful transmitter. People often ask me, how do I raise my vibration? I say, walk like the earth is sacred, and soon your life will be too. The image that changed my practice. One morning, barefoot on damp grass, I realized something simple but life-changing. I wasn't walking on the earth, I was being carried by it. Each step was no longer mine. It was the earth breathing through me. And I thought, if the earth can hold my weight without complaint, why can't I hold my life with the same grace? You know, someone once teased me, "Slow walking looks like you're lost." I smiled and replied, "No, I'm not lost. I'm finally not rushing to places I never wanted to be. And once you've tasted peace with every step, you'll never want to walk the old way again." In our later years, we're told to keep moving or risk decline. But what we're not told is how to move. Walking with mindfulness isn't a weakness. It's wisdom made visible. You're not slowing down because you're broken. You're slowing down because your spirit is calling you back to presence. Tomorrow, just try this. Walk for 5 minutes without rushing. Let each step be a soft drumbeat of life. Don't walk to go anywhere. Walk to finally arrive inside yourself. And once your breath and your feet are anchored in awareness, we arrive at the next sacred shift, one that doesn't involve motion at all, but still, it moves mountains. Let's talk about the power of sitting like the earth is holding you. Habit 3, sit with yourself without trying to fix anything. We learn how to sit in school, in buses, in waiting rooms, but we are never taught how to sit with ourselves. And so, silence becomes uncomfortable, not because it's empty, but because it holds everything we've avoided. There's a kind of sitting that doesn't look like much from the outside. No chanting, no incense, just you, being with you. I used to think sitting still meant wasting time, that I should be meditating right, or thinking positively, or visualizing something powerful. But the deeper I went into practice, the more I saw. The body doesn't need more effort. It needs permission to just exist without being fixed. When you sit without expectations, something begins to shift. Like a pond after the storm, the inner waters start to settle. And in that stillness, things rise. Grief you forgot you carried. Thoughts you've silenced for years. Old guilt, old love, old stories, surfacing not to haunt you, but to leave you. It's like your body has been waiting for this moment to speak without interruption. And once you listen, it no longer has to scream. I remember one morning I simply sat, no timer, no goal. And I noticed my breath was softer. My shoulders had let go of something. Not because I did anything, but because I finally stopped doing everything. This is the kind of sitting that heals. Not because it works, but because it finally stops trying so hard to work. You see, when we stop trying to control every emotion or force a solution, the body does something beautiful on its own. It reorganizes. The nervous system resets. The tension finds its exit. And slowly, the energy that was scattered by worry and noise begins to gather back inside you. That gathering, that quiet hum inside your chest. That's not laziness. That's restoration. One of my teachers once told me, "Don't just do something, sit there." It sounded absurd at the time, but now I see it takes courage to sit in your presence without distraction, to hear your thoughts and not argue with them, to feel your feelings and not fix them. That's where peace begins. They say silence is golden, but when you've got a mind like mine, it sometimes feels more like a noisy restaurant with no waiters. Still, eventually, the guests leave, and you're left with peace. Try this tomorrow. Sit somewhere quiet for 10 minutes. Don't try to relax. Don't try to be spiritual. Just sit, like a mountain, like the sky, like your presence is enough, because it is. And as the silence deepens, something more subtle begins to change. Not in your thoughts, but in your cells. Next, we'll explore a daily ritual that seems simple, yet carries the power to rebuild your body from the inside out. Habit 4. Eat with reverence, not rules. We spend years searching for the perfect diet, but what if the healing never came from the food, but from how we offered it to our bodies? In Zen monasteries, meals are taken in silence, not out of strictness, but reverence. Each bite is received like a prayer, an offering of gratitude to the body that carries us through storms and sunrises. At first, I found it odd to just sit, chew, swallow, no salt discussions, no Netflix. But after a while, I started noticing something miraculous. I stopped eating with my mind and started feeding with my heart. It's funny, isn't it? We don't trust ourselves to eat without rules, so we cling to plans, portions, and protein grams, but forget to ask the one who knows best, the body. I once had a student who came to me frustrated saying, "I eat all the right things. Why do I still feel bloated and tired?" I gently asked her, "Do you ever eat while standing up?" She laughed. "Always. I'm too busy to sit down." Sometimes it's not the food that's heavy, it's the energy we carry while consuming it. When you eat in a rush, the body tenses, digestion slows, the nervous system stays alert. But when you soften into presence, even a simple bowl of soup becomes medicine. Your gut loosens, your breath deepens, and without trying, the body opens its doors to receive, not just process. There's a moment just before the first bite that's sacred. I've learned to pause there, to close my eyes, breathe, and simply whisper, "Thank you." Not because the food is fancy, but because I'm finally here to receive it. That moment, however small, changes everything. Gratitude isn't a garnish. It's the ingredient that transforms eating from habit into healing. You don't need to chant over your salad or sage your sandwich, but maybe, just maybe, put the fork down between bites. And ask your rice how its day was. You'll be surprised what you hear when you chew. The body isn't a machine to be fueled. It's a temple to be nourished. And nourishment has less to do with macros and more to do with presence. Food doesn't just go through your mouth. It enters your energy field. So ask yourself, am I eating with anxiety or with affection? Try this at your next meal. Just pause. One deep breath, one slow bite, and see what shifts. Now, as the breath, the body, and even your meals begin to soften into presence, let's explore the most paradoxical of healing habits, doing less and becoming more. Habit 5, do nothing and let that be enough. Have you ever noticed how even rest has turned into a task? We schedule naps, track our sleep, optimize recovery, and yet we still feel tired. What if the one thing your nervous system needs the most is for you to stop trying to fix it? I remember sitting at the foot of my teacher in a silent temple nestled deep in the mountains of Kyoto. For an entire hour we did nothing. No chanting, no meditation techniques, just being. At first I was restless, then frustrated. Then something opened. There was a gentle quiet that wasn't outside me. It was me, without effort. In Zen, this is known as Wu Wei, the art of non-doing. Not laziness, not apathy, but resting in presence so fully that even the need to improve dissolves. Ironically, doing nothing can feel harder than working, because the moment you stop, the guilt creeps in. I should be cleaning. I should be answering emails. I should be better. But that voice isn't wisdom. It's a leftover echo from a world that taught you your worth lies in what you produce, not in who you are. Sometimes I sit down to do nothing, and 5 minutes later, I'm reorganizing the sock drawer. Doing nothing is simple, but it's not easy, especially when the laundry's whispering your name. But here's the paradox. The more you allow yourself to be unproductive, the more energy, clarity, and creativity return on their own, like how a pond clears only when the ripples rest. Your body is not a machine, it's a garden. And a garden doesn't bloom through constant tending. It flourishes in the still hours beneath the surface, in silence, in surrender. Some of the deepest healing I've witnessed in others, and in myself, has come not from striving, but from sitting quietly in a chair by the window, hands open, doing absolutely nothing, and letting that be enough. You don't have to prove your right to rest. You were born with it. There's a quiet rebellion in choosing to just be, especially in a world addicted to doing. Let the sun warm your face. Let the wind pass through your thoughts. Let the day go on without you chasing it. You'll find that when you finally stop chasing life, it comes closer on its own. Just once today, give yourself 15 sacred minutes. Sit by a window, no phone, no fixing. Just be, and watch what happens. You were never meant to fade. You were meant to return to a strength that doesn't shout, but steadies. To a rhythm that doesn't rush, but restores. Today you've remembered 5 simple, sacred habits. A breath that reminds your heart it's safe. A step that reconnects your body with peace. A stillness that listens without fixing. A meal shared with reverence, not rush. And the radical wisdom of doing nothing and letting that be enough. These are not just habits, they're invitations. To live not harder but truer. To let your energy grow deeper, not thinner, with time. To befriend your body instead of battling it. And remember this, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are being called home. Back to the part of you that was never in a hurry to begin with. So take one habit, just one. Begin today, not with pressure, but with presence. Even the smallest shift in your rhythm can awaken a new chapter in your vitality. Which habit touched you most deeply? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe for more practices that blend ancient wisdom with gentle modern clarity. And as always, breathe, soften, and trust. You are not fading. You are unfolding.